Welcome to the Elk Season Podcast. Is this the last Elk Season Podcast of January?
No, we still have next weekend.
Okay. All right. So maybe in February we'll have a beer on the podcast.
There you go. Yeah, we have the 30th is next Sunday.
Oh, so. Okay. We're doing dry January.
Yeah.
So trying to lose some weight for Elk Season.
And so far I have figured out that there are 0 cheat days in a dry January. Which
so far?
All
right. Well, the month ain't over yet.
Yeah. Anyway, it's all good. It's all for the best, honestly.
Yeah, it is. So I've lost 2 more pounds this week. I weighed in at 253 pounds.
Yeah, my total net loss is 11.5 pounds since January 2nd.
So, and mine is 15 over 3 weeks, which is fine. I'll take 5 pounds a week. I don't know if I'm going to see 5 pounds a week. I am, however, going to step up my physical training.
Okay.
So I've been doing regular CrossFit workouts, and I'm a big, strong guy. I like to lift. I like all the gymnastic movements, like handstand push-ups and muscle-ups. And I did my first muscle-up at the weight I'm at.
Yeah, weren't you talking about muscle-ups last week? No,
yeah.
Because it's a hard process,
it's
right?
Very. I was talking about wall walks.
Oh, wall walks, sorry.
Wall walks, yeah. That's a different miserable task.
You do it to yourself.
And happy to share with everybody my whoop. It's called a whoop. I made a TikToks with a big title above my head. It's called a whoop, dummy.
I'm gonna have to look into one. Is that an Apple product?
So, well, it's a subscription. It's like
Okay.
$30 a month. So he's out. No,
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of subscription services. But
I like and appreciate the data that it gives me, and the data that it gives me for elk season. Because I go to the gym. I do hard workouts. I mean, I move heavy weights, and I will go and I will do lifting, and I will do a hard workout that's 30 minutes long at incredible intensity, and still it can't even touch a score from one day in elk season. It can't.
Wow.
And those elk season scores, I don't think so. I watched and because I have to process the whole elk season podcast and put it on YouTube. As I'm watching it, I'm thinking about these discussions that we have.
Okay.
And I think, gosh, we should have talked more about these whoop scores and what it means during elk season. Because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I think that it's going to be easy because working out gets me ready, but elk season's still harder than working out.
Well, it's kind of like the randomness of what your body has to go through out in the woods versus the consistency and the straightforward situations you tend to find in a weight room. Except when you're doing those fun runs in terms of CrossFit, those give you more of a to my observation. Now, I haven't done CrossFit, so I'm sort of speaking out of my element.
Sure, but no, dump it out. That's what we're here for.
But my observation is that, and this is what I like about CrossFit, though I'm not a part of CrossFit, but I appreciate its community and I appreciate what it does for the body. But in the gym, it's one thing, but out in the field, it's different.
You're right,
and that's all I'm saying. You're
right.
That's where you find the replication to elk country is in something like a fun run.
Yeah, so
or whatever you call it.
The movements in CrossFit are meant to be very strict. This is how your body is supposed to move. When you get out in elk season, your body needs to move a different way, but it needs to come back to that stationary, that main frame of how you're supposed to move. So while backpacking isn't the same as a fun run.
Right. And
is that what they call it
too? I realize that may not be what they call it. The fun
run. No. So I'm looking to be a competitive CrossFit athlete because I will be the youngest 50-year-old in the crowd. That's why. Because the CrossFit Games are in August, and I turn 50 at the end of June.
Wow.
So that means I'm a 50-year-old, but I'm only 49. And so I'm working.
Nice. I like your logic.
Right. I'm just the youngest guy. This is the only year I'll be the youngest guy until I'm 54.
Okay.
Right? About to turn 55. So I got to put in some work and see how high to the top of the list I can get. And I will share it with you. I will share it with Elk Season. I will share it with you.
Excellent.
Because when you do these CrossFit workouts, I think there's 4 workouts in the open, which is my next competition. It's what I'm working for. It's why I want to be 222 pounds by 222. The open is a series of 4 different workouts, and they will give me a worldwide ranking. And I will have an Idaho ranking. And I will have a United States ranking for men 50 years and older.
Cool.
And there have been some workouts in the past where I was first in Idaho.
Okay.
I was the strongest when it comes to like snatches and big heavy lifts.
Sure.
For a 50-year-old, I front squatted. Did I tell you this?
I don't think so.
I front squatted 295 pounds.
Nice.
Twice. So it was a 2-rep max, and you have to slowly build up to it. And so I've done sets of 5 at like 315. But anyways, and that definitely relates to Elk Season. But I love the hard work. I'm about to step it up. Right now I'm doing about an hour of work a day. It's probably closer to 30 or 40 minutes. We do a little bit of lifting, but it all has to do with stretching and warming up and making sure your body's ready to do that kind of work.
Sure.
And that's really important. Which we do not warm up during Elk Season.
No, well,
we do.
Depending on the circumstance, I think there's something to be said about that hike on a trail before you get off trail.
Yeah,
and that gets your body starting to move, and
yeah,
I don't know. I think that some aspects of the hike,
from the truck, from the truck to the trailhead to the timberline, it's all
relative, really.
Yeah, the closer you are to camp, the easier it is walking, and that's your warm up.
Yeah,
because Elk Season, honestly, you do a workout in a day, and you get a score on the Whoop of like 12, 13, all the way down to 9 or whatever. But Elk Season, you are working all day long.
Pretty much.
And it is, there's 12 hours of daylight there where you are or should be moving or thinking about moving.
Yeah.
And
the pursuit, man.
And it's rough country. It is rough country. I found a TikTok this week of the top trail runners in the world and how I don't know, a dozen of them were born and raised in Flagstaff, Arizona.
Huh.
Because Flagstaff, Arizona is at 7,000 feet. So, and actually turns out, I go, oh, that's an interesting TikTok. But I read a book called The Sports Gene.
Okay.
Right? I think it was called The Sports Gene. I've read a couple different sports-themed science sort of books. But this one was, if athleticism is all genetics, then we should be worried about breeding. And if it's all training, right? Because some people are just born to be 6'5".
Sure. Yeah.
I wasn't.
I'm barely.
But, and some people just don't have some strengths. But it can't be all training either, right? And so it shows about how there's this mix of, well, you have to know what you can be good at, what your aptitude is.
Right.
Now, how do you fit into the sports world?
Right.
So I'm too big. I'm too big for CrossFit. The optimal range is 5'10".
Wow.
And so being 6'2", I think there's a guy named Brent Fikowski, but he's got like negative body fat percentage. He's so skinny.
Trying to imagine it.
He's so skinny. He's so skinny, and he's such a good athlete.
Yeah.
And anyways, but the whole Flagstaff thing, the Sports Gene talked about how living your first early years at near sea level to develop healthy lungs, then moving to the highlands later in life, before you're 10, and developing at well above sea level at that 7,000 foot range. And that's what they found was a lot of the Ethiopian and the Kenyan runners was that this was their experience. This is part of their experience. Another part of their experience really was you had a long distance to go to school and a long distance to go home. And you had chores to do.
Sure.
And you had chores to do in the morning, and you had to get to school on time or they'd whip you. And you'd have to get home on time and get your chores done, and you get whipped. So you became a really, really good runner. And all these runners, and this is I a parable sort of. I don't know that I'm speaking of any individual specific runner. But,
Sure.
you know, they all say, you know, if I ever make it anywhere in life, I'm going to make sure my kids never have to walk to school. So they win a marathon, which is big money. They go back home. They start their own business with that money so that they can live on the business.
Okay.
And their kids can't run. Their kids don't walk to school, and their kids are not world level athletes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
environment plays a huge role.
So environment plays a really big role. And I don't know. I tell people that I identify as Irish.
Do you?
I do.
Okay.
I do. When I read an Irish author and I hear about Irish history, I'm super empathic to them.
Okay.
And I always have despised the British with everything in me. I just hate them.
Interesting.
I know.
Interesting.
I know. It's so dumb. Why?
I don't know.
And I've thought about it.
Okay.
And
what'd you think?
Way back, I have 7 sisters.
You do.
That's a true story. I have 7 sisters. And when Prince Charles and Princess Diana got married, it was the biggest deal in the world.
I was too young for that.
My sisters thought it was the biggest deal in the world. And I just can't think that they're only there because they were born. I mean, there's no good reason. At least American royalty, they were in movies.
Sure.
Right? At least they accomplished something in life. What is royalty? They're nothing. They're nothing. There's no reason anyone should care about their opinions, their marriages, their children. There's no discernible reason in my brain. And yet so many people care about them. That's why I hate them. And everything that they did to the Irish for 800 years. Which was terrible. Which was terrible.
I would take it that this podcast is probably not traveling to England.
I don't care if it does. Come and get me, England. We kicked your butt one time.
And
we can do it again.
Fact check me on this one though. Your deer stags are related more to the moose than to the elk, even though they have antlers that look more like elk.
Is that true? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
We'll get back to elk season and not why I hate the British.
I'm just looking for a loose thread to at least make it feel somewhat familiar.
So
we were talking about CrossFit though. I mean, it's getting in shape for elk season. So there's the trail.
So yeah, and not drinking so much beer and eating a lot of potatoes. So that's my Irish trend. Potatoes and beer.
I've thought about the potato diet before.
Man. Oh yeah. There's a ton of research out there.
Yeah.
People have just eaten nothing but potatoes.
Penn Jillette of Penn and Teller
really
lost a lot of weight on a potato diet.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
You can find YouTube bits of him talking about it.
I used to just wash a potato, grate it into a pan, fry it up, and eat it.
Nice.
I mean, just like with not spam, just Pam. just
Spam
right?
doesn't hurt.
Potatoes and salt.
Yeah.
And yeah, I lost a lot of weight doing that. That was just a staple meal. It wasn't my whole diet.
Yeah.
But if I need something to eat, hey, have some potatoes. So, okay, all right. So that's where I am. I want to compete in the CrossFit world, and I'm stepping up. I'm stepping up my training starting Monday. I'm adding 90 minutes.
Okay.
I'm adding conditioning. I'm adding gymnastics. I'm adding strength, and I'm adding weightlifting. Four different things. Plus, I'm going to do the regular workout. Okay. So
I'm adding cardio next week.
Oh, really? Okay.
I've just done portion control to this point.
Okay.
Cardio's got to come back into my fold though, because it's elk season, and that really helped me last year. So I got to
Yeah.
start. I need to start long before September, which I started in August because, well, A, I got my elliptical, but B, I was also kind of thinking about Mount Bora, which we hiked, and so this year I just got to be a little bit more proactive. Plus, my whole diet scheme is really portion control and movement, and the movement has been lagging. So now that I'm back at my job, I'm sitting far more than I should be, and so I need to be doing stuff. So I have a plan.
Good.
Just do more cardio.
Good. Yeah.
So we'll see how that works.
The past, to be honest, the 3 years, my brother has been steadily out hiking me, more each year. I think Is that a fair assessment?
I guess
3
so.
years?
I think I have noticed it. I've been humble about it because I didn't want to say anything. And I was surprised because you've always out-hiked me. In fact, your athleticism far exceeds mine, and I think for very real reasons. And I think it just, anecdotally, I don't know, but having been hit by a car when I was 4, likely damaged that part of my brain that gave me hand-eye coordination because I'm always tripping over myself, always falling over myself. I'm a 6'4" bench warmer at a high school basketball team because I don't have any hand-eye coordination. I don't have the skill. And then having a stroke in the same part of that brain last year didn't help either. But I don't know what was pre or post stroke. But my athleticism is all brute strength, and it's never been good with hand-eye coordination because of that. So I've always admired and appreciated your athleticism, wondering where the disconnect was because I guess it could be genetic. We had a father with disability. Yeah, but something about that says not necessarily. Yeah, other than he was older when I was born versus when you. So anyway, it seems environmental and brain damage. I have brain damage. That's really
there's a really great story about a horse guy, a guy who has I know I told you the story before, but he's got a stack of degrees from Harvard, and he can do anything he wants, and he's fed up with jobs on Wall Street and in New York, and so he just decides I just want to go back home to Kentucky where I'm from, and I want to study horses. I know enough about horses. If I study horses, I can figure it out. And so he started taking data on horses. And he took as much data as he could. And he measured the width of their nostrils, the length of their legs, the width of their legs, everything, the length of their stride. And he tried to find a correlation between measurement of a horse and a winning horse. Yeah. And he couldn't find anything until he got a sonogram. And he got a sonogram and he started measuring internal organs. And he started measuring the heart, and he started measuring the lungs, and he measured everything he could. He kept it on giant spreadsheets until he found a horse, until he found 2 correlations. These 2 correlations are the size of the heart, specifically the left ventricle, and the spleen. Now, I've watched some other like diving documentaries, like deep diving documentaries, and when deprived in oxygen, your spleen secretes oxygen into the bloodstream. So having a large spleen could be beneficial in a race. Sure. So he finds a horse that is off the charts for his. He's not off the chart. He's in the 97th percentile for his heart size, 98th for left ventricle, and he's in the 93rd or 92nd percentile for his spleen. And so they have to buy this horse is up for auction, but it's owned by the guy he works for. So they have to hire somebody else to buy the horse to sell it back to him. But that horse became American Pharoah, the first horse to win the Triple Crown in 40 years. Yeah. So when it comes to athletes, there's a lot of takeaways from this story. Right? Sure. How to use good data is one.
It's a process. You can't just take things on the surface.
But it's so easy to look at a fantastic athlete and think that they haven't trained for it, that they don't deserve it, that it comes easy for them, or you just go, oh, they're probably taking some steroids, they're probably taking drugs. Yeah. It's easy to do that, to discount that. And also, the one thing I like about this story is I like to believe that there's something inside everyone that makes us capable of incredible things. Yeah. And no one can see it. You know it's there. No one can see it, but you know you're capable of certain things.
Sounds related to the growth mindset, which is just keeping an open mind to your potential and never giving up.
Yeah. Yeah, because there is. I think, we had a good friend. He always said that everybody has a superpower. Yes. Everybody, and I think that's true. They have some capability, some human quality that's off the charts from every other human out there. And so, anyways, it's a fun story. It's a fun story. Yeah. And like I said before, I don't have any excuses. I like to work out. I'm coordinated. I have my, what my resting heart rate is?
No, tell me.
56.
Okay.
It's really low.
Yeah, so is mine.
Is it really?
Well, it's around that. It's
that's pretty good.
Between 60 and 65.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it is better for big people.
Yeah, I've never had high blood pressure, at least to this point in my life.
Dad didn't either. In fact, it was low blood pressure Dad had to worry about.
Yeah.
Later on, he did, I guess.
Yeah, it was towards the end.
Towards the end, you get up on the salt.
Yeah.
Can't taste anything anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, hypertension. Watch out for your sodium. All right, so that's the update on my health. I know everyone's very concerned.
Our health,
I'll tell you at the end of September, I started a new job working in radio,
which I've been plugging to students. It's become up.
You.
I have students who are well, I don't mean to cut you off on what genre it is, but the genre has come up in class and like, hey, by the way, if you listen to the afternoon guy, he might sound a little familiar.
Oh, very good. Well, thank you for that. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy doing radio. But when I first started the job, I saw a notice from Corey Jacobson.
Okay.
We need a cameraman.
Yeah.
Must be able to hike. Must be strong. And I'm like, he's speaking to me. I just started this job 4 days ago. That's the job I want. I just want to be a backpacking cameraman.
But would that take away from your ability to go do what you love in September? Just what's the trade-off is all I'm saying.
You're right. You ask anybody, a nice tall guy, and I've asked a few tall guys. I might have asked you this because you're a tall guy. How many inches of height would you give up for how many pounds of muscle? Right? That's a tough trade.
Yeah.
That's a very tough trade.
Yeah.
Would I give up 1 centimeter for 30 pounds of rippling muscle? Right? And that
is it going to make me ripped? That's the question. So what if the trade-off's good? Not that I need to be ripped, by the way. That's just a Hollywood image, but
right.
But being in shape is ultimately what the message is. But.
Right. And you are tall and thick, so you don't have to worry about either one.
If I could just lose the layer on the thick,
right,
it's all there.
Would you give up height for a certain body fat percentage, like maintain a 10% body fat or 11% or something?
I worked so hard, especially at the end of high school. I know we're talking like 22 years ago, but towards the end of my high school
and we'll be
career,
talking it for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, I worked so hard to get rid of this layer of fat, and I was so, I'm not athletically inclined, but I was athletically determined. I was doing all the sports. I was playing the basketball, the football, the track and field. I was going into the gym in the mornings at 5:30, meeting up with classmates. And I worked so hard, but I still, and I realized that it is a facade to chase that 6-pack mentality. I got a 2-pack. That's as far as I ever got.
Yeah.
It wasn't even that well defined. And so it's like, I felt like it was a fool's errand, and I should just be comfortable with who I am, and I should just make sure that I monitor my weight and make sure that I pay attention to how I feel and change according to that. So that's sort of been my MO since high school, and there's been years where it's been much heavier than others.
Sure, and I have sought confirmation bias, very specifically, on why I should have a low body fat percentage for health reasons.
Yeah.
And so you look for that. And so I've filled my brain with that to tell myself I need to lose fat. And so my goal is very much single-digit body fat percentage. But anybody performing at an elite level of athletics needs that. And okay, so I'm trying. Anyways, I'm trying. Let's talk about elk.
Let's be healthy. Just do what you feel is in your best interest to be healthy. So elk.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it to facilitate a better elk season.
Yeah.
And anytime I work out a lot, my elk season's always so much better.
Yeah.
So much more comfortable.
And for whatever reason, I have no other season to really help paint that picture for me in terms of health than last season when I was actually active with cardio.
Yeah.
Just doing something helped me that much more. My legs felt stronger beneath me climbing up hills. I didn't feel fatigued as often.
Yeah.
And so it was just eye-opening. And Bora aside, I could have hiked Bora and I could have gone right back down to 0 after that trip, but I kept on the cardio and that just propelled me into holy crap. And that carried over to deer season even. I couldn't help my momentum. There's a couple times where I was just like, I wasn't trying to be rude, but I kind of hiked that ahead and it was just like, I'm just there.
Yeah, so. You did good. You did good. You did some good hiking. I got some work to do. That's also some of my motivation. I don't just want a 6-pack. I want a 6-pack I can show him. I'm going to hike to the top of the mountain. I take my shirt off.
If I can quote,
and that'll lure you up there.
If I can quote someone from the genre you're on the radio for, that don't impress me much.
You just quoted Shania Twain.
I know. Shame on me.
I want you to know that you just quoted Shania Twain.
I wasn't going to say
Honey,
it.
I'm home. All right, pull up the Elk Season news.
All right.
I keep finding more and stuff. I get onto Facebook and I look for. I don't look. It's in my scroll because I'm not friends with. I follow the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation on Facebook, and I follow some elk addicts and some Idaho elk hunters and some Utah elk hunters, and Utah elk hunter groups. And I just want to see what's going on. And there's some really interesting stuff. I have 13 or 14 photos, and David is going to go through all of them one by one, and we're going to talk about them.
All right. Here.
How we doing on time, by the way?
We are
over. 20?
25 minutes.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
So now if I can get this piece of technology to cooperate.
Okay.
Technology has not been our friend today.
It's never my friend unless it helps me.
All right. So I have Guess He Lost. Turn volume up. Is that a video or just an image?
They're just images.
Okay.
They're just images. What is the image?
It's the elk in the road staring at the vehicle.
Oh my gosh. So that is a video. It was on TikTok. Yeah. If you see it, I'll put it up. It's okay. I'll make sure and leave a copy. I'm sure a lot of guys have seen this, but this guy pulls up on this elk in the middle of the road, and he's like, "Hey, what's up? You want to go? Come at me, bro!" Right? That kind of attitude.
Yeah.
That elk tips his head down, punctures his tire, and looks back at him. No kidding. Just he gets in there, he goes, psh, and you just hear it go pop. Psh,
that is so
loud
crazy.
as day. Anyway, elk are fun that way. That was all to that story.
I think this was an accidental screenshot that had to do with Weird Al.
No, I want to talk about that for Elk Season.
Okay.
We are big Weird Al Yankovic fans.
Okay.
Sorry, we are. And Daniel Radcliffe is going to be playing Weird Al Yankovic in a movie called Weird, the Al Yankovic Story. And I'm very excited about it. Okay, we can move on now. Unless you want to make any comments.
Radcliffe is an interesting choice. I'm anxious to see the wig. I'm anxious to hear the personification. We'll see. But part of me wonders, Weird Al better have his hand in this.
He does. He does.
And hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, hilarity ensues.
So there's a parody of Weird, the Al Yankovic movie. There's a parody of the trailer made with Aaron Paul.
That's right.
Who's from Idaho?
Yes.
Who played Weird Al, and it was just kind of for fun. So when I saw this, I'm like, well, I sent it out to my son. I sent it to you.
Yeah.
And then it turns out, no, they're really talking about this. But also Weird Al posted, because I follow Weird Al on Facebook too. Weird Al posted a video of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. And he's writing in Tom Riddle's diary, right? And he has at the top of the page, I love rock and roll. And he starts, I love Simpsons Bowl. You know, he writes all these things in Tom Riddle's diary until he finally gets to I love Rocky Road. Right? And it's like, this is Daniel Radcliffe playing Weird Al.
Huh.
But it was a joke, right? Anyways, it's a very funny video, and I'm excited about it. I really like Weird Al. He's been an inspiration of mine my entire life. For as long as I can remember, I've loved Weird Al.
Yeah, we do that summer camp trip every year. I don't always make it, but the last time I went, I just pulled the iPod out, and me and the two boys just had nothing but our Weird Al folder, and that's all we listened to for 8 hours, and then we didn't have a repeated song.
Never a repeat, and I knew every word.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah.
I don't care. I love it.
I ain't backing down from that.
Yeah.
Ain't no shame in that.
No shame in that. So I threw that in one just for fun.
All right.
Just for funsies.
Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. Every successful elk hunt manages the wind.
Yeah. So that's Randy Newberg.
Oh, yeah.
Talking about thermals.
Okay.
Do you know how thermals work? I did not watch the video. I don't know how thermals work. I think I know how thermals work.
You know how the air rises in the morning versus in the evening when the sun sets. So I don't remember all the specifics, but I know it's relation to how the air warms and rises with that process.
Right. And how it would move amongst the contours of the mountain, because you walk on a ridge and the wind blows one way on one side of the ridge and another way on the other side of the ridge.
Absolutely.
Because they're both blowing like towards up and towards the gully. So from the ridge to the gully. And it depends on the color of the hill, right? How jagged it is, how many trees there are, how much moisture is there. So there's a lot of things to that, and I don't know much about it other than the wind's going to change when I get there.
I know that I've read about it, but it's been years, so I need to brush up, but it's and of course there's, thermals, if it's just related to how the sun is rising and setting, other than when there's wind versus no wind. I mean, there's but it's all,
there's nuance to it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nuance to it. So the sun heats the mountains, heats the surface area of the mountains faster higher up than it does down low where it's flat, because there's just increased surface area. And so the mountains lift, right? As things start to warm up, the thermals start to lift, but they move in coordinates with the contours of the land and within the context of the overall weather.
Sure.
So
all these different scenarios are playing through my head when I could have been more maybe conscientious of the thermals.
So you know what? This elk season, let's just put it right up here. Talk about the wind. Talk more about the wind. Like, hey, we always talk about the wind when we see elk.
Yeah, and then we pull out our little
powder
bottle.
Yeah, and say, okay, this is what the wind is doing. But we should probably be having a constant conversation about the wind. And a lot of the times we are cognizant of the wind,
right? But
we should talk more about it. I guess that's where I am. All right. Anyway, so that I should probably look more into that article. If it's Randy Newberg talking, he's not a bad hunter.
Nah,
he's not a bad hunter. I like watching
many years ago, and just some of the products that he uses, I can't seem to find. So I think it's in part probably his popularity. People see what he does, and he uses this or that, and it's like, particularly there are these. Of course, I've never had to use them, so maybe I shouldn't go out for this expenditure. But these elk bags that you would use when you harvest an elk that are sort of heavier duty than what you normally see, better breathable, and they're like $80 or something like that. Yeah. And I'm like, I'll buy the $20 cheap things that look like you're buying them from the lingerie store. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So
the Alaskan game bags is what they call them.
Yeah.
Right?
Anyway, so
the cheap version.
The one version. Anyway, so I had them in my Amazon cart for a long time. I just never bought them. But then they've gone out of stock. And when I feel like, oh, well, I better go get them if they're going to be out of stock. Anyway, they're out there. I just haven't. Them. But anyway, goofiness.
All right. So Randy Newberg is a great resource.
Yeah.
He talks about thermals, and there's a lot of nuance there that you have to a situational awareness that you have to have.
I swear he never does. He talks about Idaho sometimes, but he's never hunting in Idaho, except for very, very. I don't know. I wondered if he hated Idaho for a long time because he just would never bring it up. And then one year up where we hunt, I could have swore I saw his outfit and his rig.
Yeah.
Parked and camping.
You told me. I remember that. I remember you talking about it.
Because he was driving a Toyota and the way that everything
camp set up and everything.
But then again, I don't know. So,
well, if you find it on YouTube,
I didn't.
Oh, okay.
It was, and it could be related to the way Idaho regulates filming.
That was like 2015, 2016.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
It was a while ago.
Yeah, you have to have a permit. Yeah, if we want to make an episode.
So understanding and appreciating Randy Newberg, knowing that what he's doing statewide, he's trying to go to every individual state to do different hunts, but he has to understand the rules and regulations, tags, filming, all of that stuff. In Idaho, I don't know enough about it, but when you're a commercial business and getting permits, it can be sticky. But that's all I know. I don't really know much more. So.
And neither do I. I don't know what kind of environmental impact filming has. I pull out my phone and film.
All right.
That has an impact.
2001, biologists determined the elk population was thriving to the point that it was healthy and sustainable. And so KDFWR, whatever that means, doesn't have...
Okay.
Created an elk hunting season, which generated significant funding to assist the elk management program.
Kentucky Wildlife.
Oh, there it is. Kentucky.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so Kentucky. So bringing these species back east where they once flourished.
Kentucky. Yeah, we talked about Pennsylvania. We talked about Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I think Oklahoma's in there today too.
Ah.
Oklahoma has an elk season.
Let's see there. This was not Oklahoma. This is Oklahoma elk this year.
Yeah.
Big old boy.
Yeah.
Big
yeah.
old boy.
Not like the one I showed you.
No.
The one I showed you, I found a TikTok of this bull.
My
maybe if
gosh.
you've seen it, maybe I'll post it. He's wide.
Yeah.
I think he's from Wyoming. He's big.
Yeah, he's so big that there were those vehicles that were following him and leading him that said oversized load.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
You need flag trucks for an elk like that.
It was
a couple of raghorns out there bugling out in front of you.
Ooh, kitty.
So, yeah, go to the kitty. Can you read the kitty article?
Over a 15-month period,
Hold on.
Oh,
before you do, let me just say I have not vetted my source on this.
okay.
And I'm not saying I trust it.
Okay.
Please read on.
All right. Over a 15-month period, the lion killed and ate 24 badgers. The
Badgers?
We don't need no. The most common animal it preyed upon in that window during the time. The cat also ate one Mouflon sheep, one feral dog.
I think it's supposed to say mountain sheep. I think it's a typo.
I think Mouflon sheep.
It might be a mouflon.
It sounds like a.
I don't know all the mouflons.
It's a special
in the area.
kind of wool. I have no idea. I'm not vetting the source.
You're right.
Feral dog. I'm sure if we were keeping track of the feral dogs. Okay, 2 porcupines, delicious. 8 beavers and 9 coyotes. I'm sorry, this just feels loaded.
It does. It does. It feels low, but it's a 15-month, right? It's more than a year.
Yeah. Besides odd eats, broken leg.
It's not like he has a Costco pizza, right?
True.
Right? He's got to eat. They got to eat something.
2 mule deer, 2 antelope, 17 elk. What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
This goes against how I understand. So, right, I wanna vet this source,
Yeah.
and
The cat has a collar.
right,
So
not a camera.
yeah, I'm not.
So every time it stops, do the researchers say, okay, it was stopped for so long in this area, let's go and find a carcass and see what it ate, not necessarily what it killed? I mean, badgers and beavers and porcupines.
So if you want to make it more plausible, it could be this, and it could just be a grammatical error. Understanding that mountain lions, my understanding is that they take a survey of about a 250 square mile plot where they sort of set up shop. And so, but they're also creatures of, what would you say? They're, what's the word I'm looking for?
Territorial?
No, they have sort of opportunistic
Yeah,
feeding habits.
yeah.
It's plausible that they're being tracked and they go out and they see where this animal stopped and that did it actually kill that porcupine? No, or did it get hit by a car on the road and it ate it? Because if it's available, that's more. I mean, the cat can go kill animals. It's not that it can't, but it's opportunistic. So if it finds something, it'll eat. Had we not been in a tent the night the one walked by our tent, it might have chowed down on us.
Right.
The tent wall kept it from being opportunistic on us snoring. It probably thought I was speaking its language because I was snoring in the way that I sounded like an animal. That's probably not too far from the truth.
Sure.
Anyway, so plausibility maybe because of the cat's habits, but the wording could be just misleading here.
If it's true, it's quite spectacular.
Yeah.
If it's true.
If cats were creating that much havoc for our species, though, one cat, and we have a huge cat population here in Idaho, I think we'd see a lot fewer animals.
So yeah.
Based on that.
Yeah.
So
but remember last week there was an elk brought down by a cat on someone's front porch?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, I guess I did come across that.
Yeah. So I know. So I this is a data point.
Yeah,
it's interesting. I don't know if the numbers are fudged, if it's completely made up. I would like to see more about this.
Admittingly, there's a gap in my understanding of cat behavior.
Yeah, totally. Because I thought their number one diet was mule deer, and seeing them eat lions and hearing about the lions eat elk and hearing about it being a problem
and seeing the lion live amongst mule deer this year.
Yes.
Or last year. So just.
And that's usually where we see the lion tracks anyways in mule deer country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I have a lot to learn.
Yeah, so do I, and this is part of the process. But that was an interesting find.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's true, but we'll add it to the data points.
Yeah, data point.
Yeah.
All right. Pretty cool picture at a restaurant in downtown Bozeman.
Yes.
Crap! I didn't even see it there. Whoa! There's an old, it's like 1920s ish, maybe 1930s, 1920s, and it's just an old vehicle.
Yeah,
and
a 1920s vehicle. Just
there is a bull strapped down to the top of this thing that is almost as big as this vehicle.
That's
at least
big.
Oh,
that is big.
It took me a second because it's a black and white photo. It was harder to discern what's going on there, but then all of a sudden
when you see it and you realize, oh, that's a dude standing next to a car and that's an elk on top of the car. Wow. I'll throw that picture up too.
Yeah.
But that's an amazing photo.
I wonder where that was. Bozeman. Wonder where that. I asked the question I gave myself the answer to.
That was back home.
All right. Residents should inspect the landscaping around their homes. We've known this for months or years here in Idaho.
Yeah. This story's from Idaho.
Ketchum Sun Valley area. There's
4 elk killed.
Yeah.
From plants.
Yeah.
From exotic plants.
Exotic plants. So we want to decorate our house nicely. We want to have it landscaped nice, but there are some of these plants out there that are just absolutely deadly to.
Yeah. And they're called yew.
Yeah.
Y-E-W.
A Japanese yew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, and they've killed some elk up in Sun Valley this year.
Yeah. Every year it seems like we have those headlines.
Yeah. So we'll probably be talking about it on the Elk Season Podcast next year.
There you go.
I hope not.
It was last week when I brought up there was an elk that got caught in a window well. I don't know if I brought that up actually, but an elk in Sun Valley area somewhere got caught in a window well.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a story. Every morning radio person was talking about that actually, because what would you do if this happened to you?
Well, do I have a tag is my first thing. And is it in season? Because this is the closest I've ever been to
I know. I saw a funny Photoshop this week online. There's a spike bull on the beach, and there's mountains, like Astoria, Oregon, kind of big rocks out there, and there's people on the beach. And he has one photo, and then the other photo he wrote "fixed it," and he wrote this is where you shoot, right here on the elk. Little circle.
That's fun.
Anyway,
you brought up the beach for whatever reason. There's a story. Again, I'm not a historian, but this is what I remember reading. Lewis and Clark coming through the Pacific Northwest, tired of eating elk meat and deer meat because it was mushy or not as tough as, say, like beef. They have a fishery, the largest fishery in the Columbia River, but they decide not to fish, and they kill a mule or a horse to have tough meat because the men were complaining about the elk meat being too soft.
Really? I don't remember that. I did read Undaunted Courage by Stephen Ambrose. I don't remember that story in it, but I do remember them talking about how much protein they ate and how they would trade fish for elk. They wouldn't eat the fish. The fishery was so good and so healthy for you. And the Native Americans say, "Hey, you killed an elk. Hey, can we we have these we've killed some elk. Do you want to trade for fish?" Because the fish were easier to get, and they prized the fish over the elk.
Oh wow.
As a resource.
Interesting.
So yeah. So anyway,
you ready for the next one?
Yeah.
During a normal winter without extremely frigid temperatures or usually deep snow, typically more than 90% of adult deer and elk survive, but that number can be significantly lower for fawns, calves, which are smaller, less capable of withstanding winter conditions. On average, about 40% of mule deer fawns perish in a normal Idaho winter.
40%?
Wow.
40%.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really surprised. Actually, 10% sounds high to me. When you hear all these, and I don't want to talk pandemic, but when you hear pandemic numbers and everybody's like 0.0193% or whatever, and you're like 10% winter kill, that's hard living, man.
Yeah.
That's some hard living. And now for 40%, with the young ones.
Yeah.
The wilderness is a tough place.
Yeah.
It's a really tough place, and it's a brutal place. And I suppose for cats, there's plenty of opportunities. You watch a group of elk cross a barbed wire fence.
Mm-hmm.
One of them gets stuck. One of them gets plucked. One of them gets pinged. One of them moves slower.
Yep.
And in the deep snow, the predators have a heck of a good time because the elk have to break trail, and the predators just come in behind them on an already run trail.
Yep.
And so, I don't know. The predation is an interesting process. We need more video on that.
Need more info. Yeah.
I tried to look up Marty Stauffer.
Marty Stauffer.
Yeah, Marty Stauffer. We'll talk about. We could talk about. You know what? Let's take a second. Let's talk about Marty Stauffer. On the floor of the library at Bryant School Elementary in Helena, Montana, they would wheel in this big tower with a TV on the top and a VCR on a bottom tray, and they would put in a video of Marty Stauffer's Wild America.
Oh yeah.
And his voice, and he did a ton of Predator videos. And they even made a movie called Wild America starring Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Yeah.
So, but they made the movie after a controversy broke about Marty Stauffer, which was that he had set up some of the predator prey like out of cages. Like,
gotcha.
here's the prey, and now they film it in the super slow motion. And anyways, but that was my real introduction to the wild America that I lived, because he loved the Rocky Mountains and he spent a lot of time in the Rocky Mountains. And when he said wild America, and when I say wild experience, I mean the Rocky Mountains is a wild place. And there are 11 Western states that have elk. And there are literally hundreds of millions of public acres available for every American, not just the people that live in those 11 states. Every American is allowed to come out and enjoy those states. They'll publish like, hey, I was going to camp my way across America, so I pulled up a map of campsites across America. You're not going east, buddy. You're not.
Yeah.
There aren't public places out east.
Yeah.
But out west, it's so big. You just don't know. Just don't know.
It's easy to find yourself in some amazing places, but in peril. So make sure that you're prepared
and get in shape.
That kind of can't be said enough, really.
Yeah.
Be in shape. Northern flying squirrels, also native to Utah.
So here's a funny story. We talked about the ringtail cat. Actually, we didn't, right?
Nope, that hasn't come up yet.
So we will. Let's talk about it now.
Okay.
The ringtail cat. I just sent you a story about the ringtail cat. On one of the first episodes, I think the second episode of the Elk Season Podcast, I mentioned someone on TikTok who took a great trail cam. He's actually changed his name now from Jedi Outdoors to Toot Outdoors. And Toot is his mascot is Freckles, a little Boston Terrier. And so he goes hiking out with this little Boston Terrier. Cool. He's a great guy. But he had pictures of a ringtail cat. And I'm like, I didn't know Arizona had ringtail cats. Wow. That's an interesting, biodiversity down there in Arizona. And this week I sent you
Twin Falls ring-tailed cat.
a Twin Falls captured a ringtail cat. They're going to move it to someplace safer.
Yeah.
But they're native here.
Yeah.
They're just super nocturnal. And we don't see them much.
It kind of reminds me of that time we were elk hunting. And we got a picture of a long-tailed weasel, but we didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And my brain is like, this is like a discovery of a century.
I know, yeah.
And it turns out that a long-tailed weasel is like one of the most common animals in North America. We actually saw one while deer hunting. Mule hunting.
Yeah.
Mule deer hunting.
Yeah, thank you.
But it had gotten into its winter coat, so it was all white. It was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really fun. And so now let's move on to the flying squirrel.
Okay, flying squirrel.
I killed a flying squirrel.
When?
In Montana. With a famous elk hunter.
Really?
Well, okay, here's the deal.
Okay,
Let
tell me more.
Let me back this down a little bit. A buddy I grew up with, Dan Clark.
Okay.
His dad was the personal bodyguard of the governor.
Okay.
Since we lived in Helena, these were my friends.
People we know.
Right? And I had another friend. He lives in Nampa, Idaho now, but his alley was the only paved alley in Helena, and it led to the governor's mansion. His alley. And the governor's mansion was just behind the state library where our dad worked.
Okay.
Anyway, it is what the heck was I talking about?
Flying squirrel.
The flying squirrel. Dan Clark, flying squirrel. So I was in football, and Dan Clark was my friend. And Dan Clark was a big guy, and we actually threw fists a long time ago. But we're still good friends, and I really like the guy. I haven't talked to him in 20 or 30 years, but I assume we're still good because he's a good guy.
Yeah.
But I knew he was an elk hunter because when I was in football, I'm like, Dan, you love being physical, you love lifting weights, you love going out, and he goes and hikes with me and does kind of crazy stuff. I go, you would love football. He goes, I can't. My dad is an elk hunter, and we take elk season seriously. Oh, okay. And I'm like, that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. And
now I'm like, yeah, I'd take my kids out of school for elk season.
Yeah.
I absolutely would. Anyway, so I knew Dan Clark was a dedicated elk hunter. And but we would just go hiking. We just had 22s. And we would literally carry 22 caliber rifles through town in our hands, just walking down the streets. We're headed to the mountains. We can see the mountains from where we live. Yeah. We're hiking to the mountains. And we would go.
We lived on a mountain.
We would go and hunt squirrels, which is a great activity for young kids, I think. It's good. It's just good practice to get out there and practice hunting prey. So we shot some squirrels. We hiked all day. We had little backpacks, brought some snacks, and we're sitting down having a snack on this old rotted out dead tree on this rock high in the mountains south of Helena, and we're dinking around and having our little snacks. And the flying squirrels are nocturnal.
Right.
So we woke it up.
Wow.
And it came out to see what was going on, and we shot it. I shot it. Can I say that? Is it legal? I think they're legal to shoot. I don't know. The statute of limitations.
It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. And I don't know, was I 14, 15? Maybe? I don't think I was 16 yet. Anyway, so that's my juvenile record. But I was surprised that there were flying squirrels in Montana. And I've always told that story like, oh, yeah, sure there is. And they're like, no.
I've been a doubter a time or two because I always thought they were more of southern United States.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's my experience. I shot and killed one.
Huh.
And, played Frisbee with it. No. No, but you inspect it, you look at it, and you're like, wow, that is totally different. It was like gray with like black spots, almost like freckled, kind of, and it looked different than a squirrel, much shorter tail. And anyways, fun times, with Dan Clark. And if you go Dan Clark on Facebook, his pictures with an elk. Now he's a rifle hunter, probably. I think so. I mean, I haven't talked to him in 30 years, so, we're still good. But anyway, I don't know. I've always liked him. He's always been a dedicated elk hunter. He probably knows more about elk hunting than I do, so.
Wolves attracted to area by unburied cow carcasses.
Yeah. Kill a rancher's dog.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, kill herding dog.
Yeah, they're very territorial.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the law is. Do you if you have a dead cow, I don't know. So I thought they sold it like dog food places or
it depends on where it's at. Are you going to be able to retrieve it if you have open grazing out in places that we've been where it's a cow is up here?
How would you get a dead cow out of there? Well, I mean, other than in pieces. And if it's rotted,
you're not.
Yeah, I don't even know how you would dig a hole for it up there.
Predation is going to be probably the
scavengers would take care of that.
I mean, predation happens fast, and we've talked about that. Within 2 weeks,
we've been hunting in the same area and seen a carcass that's been stripped from a hunter.
Yeah,
come up how long? How much later?
So, what do you mean?
You went back and saw that?
So we actually caught wind of somebody packing out a spike, and we came across what they left behind the next day, and then I came back 2 weeks. and all I found were just nubs of the hooves and two. And so there was, backbone and everything else that's left behind in terms of what they couldn't take, but Predation just took it.
There was a good carcass left behind.
Yeah.
Lots of bones. And it looked like nothing had happened there.
Yeah. Two weeks later, I really needed to know the process of predation, at least for that area, because it was something A, I was interested in, but B, I guess there's no B. I was just interested. So I just wanted to go back and see. And I was trying to understand certain approaches to hunting too.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a year where I was really frustrated with trying to know what to do. I'd gotten to a point where I just needed to gather some data. Anyway, long story short, predation, quick.
Yeah.
It was crazy. 2 weeks.
Yeah. And I think we spooked a golden eagle up from that carcass when we came upon it.
That's right.
And we found a feather. I think no one touched it because that is against the law. No one touched that feather. Anyway, I don't have it in my garage. No, I don't. Anyway.
Grizzly and U.S. radio-collared grizzly sow took a lengthy trek through Montana and Idaho.
Yeah. If you look at that, she goes from Northern Glacier all the way down past Missoula, past Hamilton, over into Idaho, over into the Bitterroots, and all the way back up to near Coeur d'Alene.
That's some data gathering right there.
I know. Here's what if you've seen the tracking info on wolves, right? They have a territory.
Yeah.
This is homeless behavior.
Yeah.
They don't have a territory.
Yeah. So
this is what it says to me.
Yeah.
This is enlightening. As pressure, and there are pressure from other bears, and there are pressure from humans. They will stay in the more mountainous areas, but they can go a long way. How long is that trek?
2,800 miles.
2,800 miles. One sow grizzly, 2,800 miles. That's a lot.
Louise.
And all that's guiding her from what I see is just pressure. She stays really high in the mountains. Just any human activity, and I'm sure if there's any other bears, sows have to watch out for other boars and stuff. So that was just an enlightening piece of data on how far a grizzly can travel.
There's our ring-tailed cat. We talked about that.
Yep.
September is the best month of the year. Prove us wrong.
Thank you, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, for saying that bow season is better than rifle season. That's what it says.
In your face.
When you say September, I say archery. And if you say not September, I go, yeah, you probably use a rifle.
Yeah, that's a beautiful animal, too, on that image.
Yeah. Woo. So anyways, the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation knows, bow season's better.
See? It's just better.
Oh, yeah.
And that's it. That's the last one there.
Really? So, all right. Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
What time we at?
We are just over, or we are 57 minutes, actually.
Great. Okay, let's talk about what we're going to talk about next week, because I already have some stuff.
Awesome.
Let's talk about, I'm going to bring my quesadilla kit.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to bring the quesadilla kit just to show people, just to give you an alternative to the food pouches.
Food will last longer in your backpacks than you'd imagine.
A hot, cheesy quesadilla. We've both had them in the mountains.
Oh, geez.
And they outrank freeze-dried food pouches.
Oh, my gosh.
They outrank them by so much.
Yeah.
By so much. And anyway, so I just want to come in and share some tricks and tips from quesadillas, because quesadilla is diverse. Flour tortilla, you can pick what kind of flour tortilla. You can pick different kinds of fillings, different kinds of cheeses, and different things to add to it to make it a really, really good.
We're going to have a cuisine segment, it seems like, because we could go on and on for variations of these kinds of things. You can easily pack. That'll be easy to eat, but the enlightening moment was when you cooked me a quesadilla. You said, I'm making you a quesadilla.
It's true.
And I think it was a chicken quesadilla.
It's true, yeah.
And we were in a place that we actually dubbed the kitchen because of that experience. That kitchen got its name because you made me a quesadilla out in that location. And so I don't know if you remembered that. But
I do.
And so
hot, fresh food is so good. It's so important for your elk season.
Yes.
It really is.
Mentality.
As much as
energy.
a freeze-dried meal is. So you know what you're missing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're emergency meals. They're emergency meals, and we've used them in a very emergency setting. And like, I just don't want to cook.
If we see something new, we'll try something novel, which we did last year, and we didn't even get to the other one because the first one was so bad.
We
talked about it
that day. It was.
Anyway,
so I want to talk about quesadillas because and it's a staple. It really is a staple. Quesadillas for lunch, meat and potatoes for dinner. Meat and potatoes and quesadillas. That's almost every day during elk season.
Yeah.
Rarely do I have anything special. I mean, I do spice it up with my pudding, and I showed you that last week. Hot butterscotch pudding, fire cooked butterscotch pudding.
No, I don't remember this at all.
I talked about it, and then I put the images up on our podcast. It's awesome. It's awesome.
All right.
So I really elk season. It's really important to enhance what elk season is with good food. I think it's important. It's important to me. It's important to me. I know some guys eat that garbage and they're like, yeah, well, that's part of the memory.
Great.
Okay. Good. So that's it. That's it for elk season. Thank you so much.
Be well. Stay awesome.
And have a good week.